Hi, I'm Kate. I wasn't on camp this year, but I've been asked to talk to you about service. Lots of people would know me as a bit of a whinger. When I'm doing stuff, I generally have a fairly cynical spirit and I tend to see the negatives in everything, and it bugs me a lot. And after one particular time when I saw a problem with something, I got into my car really annoyed, which probably was a common occurrence, and I listened to Ben Harper. And he had a song called Better Way, and a lyric really stuck in my mind, and it's about what good is a cynic with no better plan? What good's whinging when you're not going to do anything about it? And then another one of his songs came on, With My Own Two Hands. So actually doing something about the problem that I saw, and often if you see the problem, you're the person to provide the solution. So I guess Ben Harper helped me to stop being a bit of a whinger and nudged me to serve. In Genesis 12, Abram is blessed by God. He's given fame and greatness so that he can be a blessing to the world. And God does the same for us. He gives us money and time and gifts, different skills that we can use to bless those around us, to serve them. And sometimes it's hard to use those blessings. Sometimes we get selfish with them. But if we think of them as being God's time, God's money, God's gifts, then it becomes a bit easier. Jesus was the ultimate servant. He talked about the first being last and the last shall be first. He talked about coming to serve, not to be served. And in John 13, he talks about washing the feet of his disciples, people who'd been wandering around the streets and getting dust up on their feet, and they were dirty and mucky and stinky. And normally that job was reserved for someone who was the servant in that home, but Jesus actually lowered himself, humbled himself, and washed the feet of his disciples. It's a really good example for us to follow. He says, what I have done, you do. And we have to be willing to get our hands dirty to provide practical help for those around us. And sometimes it's hard because we think, where's the glory in all of that, when you're doing the lowest job possible and it's disgusting and no one's taking any notice of you. And when I first finished school, I did some really ridiculous jobs, quite random, quite mundane, really boring. 14 hours in the central markets, packing olives, selling olives, I hate olives, counting traffic, making notes of whether it's a bus, a bike, a car, a B-double, a road train, and also selling books. So your school books that you picked up, I could have packed them a few years ago. So things like checking a list, finding the product, putting it in a box, checking the list, finding a product, putting it in a box for a month, every day. Quite boring. And it's hard to stay focused on those things unless you see God in that, unless you look at something like Colossians and see that we're actually told to work for our earthly masters as though we are working for God, to serve him through it all. And that helps to give some sanity, but it also helps you to realise that what you are doing is worthwhile. And to do it with the goodness that you could do something, do it to your very best, because it's as though you're doing it for God, even if the world thinks it's a bit ridiculous and boring. What I'm getting at is try and find something that you could volunteer at church or at home. And my jobs are pretty easy. It's not like I suffered greatly to do them. And my home life was pretty easy as well. I wish I'd been more of a servant at home. My dad worked 9 till 5 or longer some days, and he was a single dad, and he used to do all the jobs at home. We were very lazy, and he used to iron my pleated school skirt, and I would get home from school, unzip it, watch it drop to the floor, and step out of it and go and do something else. And the next week he would iron it again. And I'm 28, and my mum the other day came up, drove 45 minutes to my house to iron about 3 months worth of clothes, and washed the bathroom and the kitchen floor and cleaned out the fridge. She served me, my parents served me, and I'm still finding ways that I can serve them to show God's love, because God serves us, and by serving we are reflecting him to others. Timothy was a young guy in the Bible. He had a really unglorious life, dangerous. He was quite young when the early church was starting out, and he served. He had a willing heart to serve. And I think it's so amazing how much how often adults underestimate what young people will do. Last year at my school, hundreds of students raised thousands of dollars for things like Daffodil Day and the 40-hour famine, and bought cows and pigs and toilets and wells and things like that for people less fortunate than themselves. They served others with their money, giving of themselves. Who could you serve at school or at home? A servant is someone who genuinely loves God and genuinely wants to do his will. And it's hard to know what his will is if we don't stay connected to him, and it's hard to keep doing his will if we don't stay connected to him, to get guidance and to get refreshment. The practices that CE is talking about, renewal, worship, service, Christian community and mission, need to be balanced. Don't go out and just do service or you're going to burn out. Just keep in mind that you need to stay connected, stay linked in with God and his people to be refreshed and renewed to serve him.